Down, aren't you? There it goes. Hello, everybody. Today is December 6th. It is my day 206. Let me get my hair. It's today. Today is my day 1.206, and it happens to be December 6th, 2017. And I'm just making a check-in video for the vlog here. I'm kind of off today. I'm a little wonky. I think yesterday was a huge day in court for me, and we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. We're another step forward. We'll see what happens. And shh, Izzy, calm down. We'll see what happens. But it was very, very emotional, and I think yesterday I probably stored up a lot of emotions in my core, and I'm dealing with them today. Happiness that there's some progress made, some unhappiness, not as much progress made, but it is another step forward. And much like our transition is an ongoing journey, this in some ways is an ongoing journey too. So go back in February and we'll see where we're at. I'm very, very happy. And as I kind of alluded to before in a past video, if you're married, keep your divorce separate from your transition. Don't mix the two up. Don't depend one on the other. Keep them separate. Two separate things. Deal with your divorce if you're going to get a divorce, or deal with your marriage. If you're going to come up with some mediation or whatnot, keep that separate and keep your transition over here in this pile. It's just a lot easier, and I'm very happy to say that regardless of what happens in court, they're not related. They're not tied together. Now, one can definitely give you some stress to the other, but my plans for the future are not going to be hampered or affected by the things that are happening in court. Okay, so that's a great relief, and I know that not everybody can say that. And there definitely was a period of time in my life where I had to put my transition on hold. I had to put going full time on hold because of my divorce, and I deliberately kept them separate so they didn't clash. Okay, but yes, my daughter is the most important thing out of all of it, and so I had to put my daughter's needs first. But everything worked out okay. So I just need to kind of get that out of the way. But I think today is definitely some emotional rebound from all of the stress, and I probably need to have a good cry later because I'm like I said, I'm wonky. The other thing, I did break through. I was at 237.6 for about 4 days, and I just could not break it. I could not break it. And finally, it may have been yesterday's stress, I don't know, but I'm 234.8 today, which means I have 14.8 pounds to go. I'll take it 14. I could say 15, but there's just something mentally very satisfying to be at 14 and dropping. Even if tomorrow I'm at 14.4 and then a day later I'm at 14.0, eventually I will hit 13. It's just something mental. It's like why they price stuff at 99 cents, to make you think it's less than $1, $12.99 or whatnot. So I have lost, but that means that in the last 3 days I've almost lost 3 pounds, and so I think my body is adjusting, and I think that's kind of what I'm going through today, in addition to being mentally, emotionally up chaotic, I think my body is trying to say, okay, I'm adjusting. I'm adjusting the chemicals and the switches and the levers inside your bioprocesses to adjust to this lower weight. I did cut back my intake again, and I'm almost tempted to just from this point on eat celery, lettuce, and tomatoes, and that's it. And I realized that it's a lot of water. It's not a whole lot of nutrients. I do eat in the morning a bowl of, I make my own kind of oatmeal. I use a little bit of rolled oatmeal, so it's unprocessed oatmeal. And on top of that, I put some frozen pineapple, strawberry, and mango, I think is in the bag. And then on top of that, I put frozen blueberries, raspberries, and something else. And then I microwave it for 2 minutes. And on top of that, I put a thing of it's like a trail mix bag, but it's not trail mix, but it has different kinds of seeds in it, as well as nuts and raisins. And on top of that, I put a banana. And on top of that, I put cinnamon and ginger. And I think something else you put in apple pie that I can't think of right now. I said ginger, cinnamon. There's one other one. You put it on top of eggnog. Oh, I can't think of it for the life of me. But anyway, and then I mic it again and I mix it all together. And the juices from the fruit mix with the oatmeal and it cooks it. And again, it's salt free, or as low salt as you can get, low sugar as you can get without adding. You don't have to add anything. And it tastes really, really good. I've grown accustomed to it. But in that, I am getting protein from the nuts. I'm getting my oils, my essential omega-3 from the seeds. I mean, it's a good, well-balanced vegan start to your day, like a bowl of breakfast cereal. And so that's kind of my startup. And then at that point, I'm just eating celery, lettuce, and tomatoes. And then in the salad that I make, where the lettuce and the other two come in, I might add carrots on top of it. But that's it. And so I think I have one more day left of my vegetarian chili that I made last week, and I won't be making another batch of that because I think it's too much. It's too much of a temptation for me to eat it. I love it, and I think there's a lot of salt. Even though I use no salt added tomato paste and no salt added tomato chunks, and then I add a buttload of vegetables, I think it's too much sodium. I mean, naturally, too much sodium, and I think that's what's messing up my body, so I won't be eating that anymore. I've also, while we're talking, kind of tempted to cut out caffeine again. The caffeine, I got a Keurig as a present, and I've been using it, and I've kind of come to the realization that for a box of 12 Keurig K-Cups, I can buy a pound or 2 pounds of coffee, and I still have my old coffee pot, and so it's more economical to make a pot of coffee as opposed to going through 4 little Keurigs a day. And I guess from a green point of view, you get those little plastic cups, and they're in the garbage, and I mean it's kind of wasteful, although I do love the Keurig, and I will definitely keep it for my daughter who likes to make hot chocolate and chai lattes. So I'll keep it for her, but I think I'm going to switch back to regular coffee because it's kind of pricey. But that kind of leads into the next big thing. We're still talking about health. And I think my blood pressure has been a little wonky today. I had a low of like 90 something over 60 something, which is pretty low. And then my high was like 140 over 96, which is pretty damn high. When I got up this morning, I stood up real quick and the black spots came in front of my eyes and I knew something was up. And so again, I think my body is just adjusting to the change in nutrients, and again, I'm going to cut out the vegetarian chili and really focus. Julie said, make a strong finish, and so that's kind of what I'm going to do. And my hope is that by the end of the month, by the 1st of January, I will be at my surgery weight. It's okay if I'm not. I still have 19 days to make it, but that's kind of going to be my goal. And I'm hoping that I will see her in January, and she will put me on her schedule, and then my insurance company is going to have to authorize it, so it's going to be a 90-day waiting anyway. So yeah, I may be looking at 4 more months of living this way. But I'm going to assume that they won't weigh me in the day of my surgery like they do the jockeys at Churchill Downs. They won't weigh you. And if I gain some weight, then that's going to be okay. But yeah, I am going to introduce some protein and whatnot afterwards. And gosh, piece of pizza would just make me feel really good too. But I do monitor my blood pressure several times throughout the day, and so that's a concern of mine. But again, emotional from yesterday, change of diet, etc., etc. But I want to talk a little bit about making plans. I started to, once yesterday kind of solidified and I was able to look ahead a little bit. If I was to be so fortunate to be put on a surgical schedule for April, okay, I've checked my health insurance. My health insurance is building. I have 7 weeks right now. I know I'll have 8 weeks of PTO by April. And so I'm thinking things are kind of going to focus, if not in March, in April. And that'll be after the next court session. I mean, there'll be a lot of things kind of coming together, but I need to think a little bit. I found myself yesterday thinking a little bit about my mom and who's going to fly out. And I think it would be a nice gesture for me to offer to pay for her airfare. And of course, if I do it now, it's so much cheaper now, but I don't want to force her into it. You know what I mean? But I looked at some dates and tried to figure out when the cheapest airfare were. Usually when my folks make their arrangements, they do it whatever fits their credit card miles the best. And so my mom usually has to make two or three stops and has to change planes or whatever. And I think it would be kind of nice of me to look into and be ready to pay for a direct flight for her, so that it's one less thing that she has to worry about or pay for, because she's going to be with me for 5 weeks, while I recover. And so again, that's one consideration to think about if you got your roadmap out and your piece of paper and you're writing down what, if this is where you're at, things to consider is who's going to be your caregiver or who's going to stand by you, help you change your bandages, who's going to help in my case, watch my daughter, help my daughter out, etc. And then as a second to that is transportation to your surgical site. I know I could probably ask Miss Sarah to drive me, and she offered to pick me up from the hospital. And it's about a 2-hour drive away. But I was looking yesterday at the bus, and I could take the Greyhound bus, for about $15, and I may end up doing that. That way, I sit in the bus and I'm not driving. I don't have to, I don't think I'm going to be like so nervous I can't drive. I'll probably be excited driving up there, but it's one less thing to worry about. Take the bus, get to Indianapolis, and then take a taxi from the bus station to the hospital, and then do the reverse of that coming home. When I get discharged from the hospital, it'll be 5 days. It'll be a week after my surgery, and so I don't know. We'll see. At the same time, it'd be kind of nice to have someone to come and pick me up, just in case I need help. I have to play that by ear. But originally I thought I might ask my mom to drive, but I think in the same way that I'm going to be in an excited mental state, I can only imagine what my mom is going to be in. And my guess is if my mom had her druthers, she would be with me at the hospital, while I have the surgery and then recover. Um, and I guess at that point, I can't pay for it, but if she was to decide to do that and get a hotel room in Indianapolis and bring my daughter with her, hell, we could all drive up together, and then they could stay and then drive home. I think my daughter wouldn't mind a trip so long as she had internet access so she could watch YouTube and play on her Xbox and everything. So that's also a consideration. But again, if you're, it's something, I know I'm so focused on the surgery, and luckily my insurance company is going to pay the lion's share of it because it's treated as any other surgery. So again, at most that would be somewhere between $3,000 and $5,000 for me to have surgery, which I have a chunk of that already on my HSA that I've been letting build up. So it's like there's a lot of things that are coming together. It's not something that I could have done within a year. It was a two-year plan, to start to let my health savings account build up, to let my PTO bank build up. It's a long process, and you kind of have to think ahead. Once you make the decision, you're going to do it and do the research, and getting your letters is just kind of the beginning, but that can be a daunting thing as well. So I kind of have a lot on my mind, and there's some other things, medical things that I need to take care of for myself that I'm putting off till January, which is when my plan resets. My plan it's a high deductible health plan, and so once I reach the first tier, everything drops to 10%. And so it makes much more sense if I'm going to go see a doctor for something like my toe or my foot, for example, something that's not critical, to wait another 27 days, 26 days till January, and that way it counts towards my first tier deductible. If I do that in January, then by the time surgery rolls around in April, I'm much more closer to that tier. And then if the surgical bill, let's say, is $26,000 and I'm within $800 of my tier, I'm only going to pay the $800, and then the rest of it is going to be at 10%. So 26, 25. So 10% would be $2,000, something like that. And that's 28, or yeah, so less than $3,000 for me to have GCS, and I have that on my HSA right friggin' now. That's the kind of thing that, again, it's taken 2 years to get to this point. And so on the one hand, when I found out a year ago, and I'm about 9 days away from my 1 year mark. A year ago, I was like, well, it's not fair. You have to wait a year. It's not fair. You have to wait a year. I didn't wait a year to start to plan it. I started planning 2 years ago, a year ago. And so again, if that's your route, I highly recommend getting your roadmap, your piece of paper, and write everything out that you need to do. And then I have a friend, Miss Jamie, who is thinking about starting the process of changing her name, her legal name, changing her social security, passport, etc., etc. And that's another thing that plan it out. You're going to have to get a letter. I know for the Social Security Administration, you fill out their form and you get a letter. While you're there working on your surgical letters, get a letter to the to whom it may concern at Social Security, and to whom it may concern at the Bureau of Motor Vehicles, And, that way save you a trip while you're there. Get the letter, and you've got that time. Like I said, again, it's a bitch at the time because you're like, I don't want to wait a year. But we need that time to get all the documents in order. And those things can be done concurrently, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Probably end to end, you're looking at a 5-year process. So if you can do it concurrently and cut that time in half or a quarter of it, why not do it? And I think that's it. So I've got my juices flowing. I'll check my blood pressure again. I may just be getting sick too. I hope that's not the case because things are happening. I don't want to be sick. You know what I mean? Now's not the time to be sick. But when is a good time to be sick? All right, my friends, that's it for today. And good luck on your own journey, wherever you might be, your own transition. Jamie sent me a real funny cartoon as well that was kind of funny. And I'll close out on this. But the first panel shows a young man at the doctor's office getting a shot. And the young man goes, ouch! And then the next panel is a little later in time because the young person now has a little longer hair and a little more feminine looking body. And they're they're laying back on a laser chair getting lasered. And the caption says, ouch! And then there's a little bit later, and this young woman now has a little more of a girl figure. She's wearing a bra and she's shaving her legs, and she nicks herself, and the caption goes, ouch! And then in the final caption, it's a picture of her without her bra on, and she's got the long girl hair and looks a little more feminine, and she's wearing makeup a little bit, and then there's no breasts, and she's just looking at herself in the mirror, or tiny breasts, little buds, and she goes, ouch. And it's so true, just how much we go through in this process for somewhat not necessarily the returns that we expect. And I would say to anyone who has that feeling, I'm only a year and a little over a year and a half now into my HRT transition. And I have been told it can take up to 4 years. So I ain't even halfway through it at a year and a half. I still have 2.5 years to go. So I can totally relate to the looking down and going, ouch, where are they? So we ain't done yet. Don't sell yourself short if that's the way you feel. And if you happen to get through 4 years, we always have the option of top surgery and getting a boob job and whatever else. And how many cis women get boob jobs and it's normal? You know what I mean? So I wouldn't let that get you down. But it did make me laugh because that's my story too. And we have these commonalities in our journey. Isn't that kind of cool? I mean, it's kind of like everyone stapling their finger at some point. We do it. And we all go through it, At least we're not alone. I mean, wouldn't that suck? You were the only person that's what I thought when I was a young person, that I was the only one, And so, yeah, it sucks. The pain of it sucks. The struggle of it sucks. The climb to the top of the peak sucks, but the view from the top can't be beat, is what I've been told. I ain't there yet, and I may never be. But all right, my friends, good luck to you. If you're on the treadmill, you just did 24.5 minutes on the treadmill. Go you. You're awesome. And we'll catch up with you next time. Good luck.